Southern California, new huge earthquake has an 11% chance of occurring because faulting is growing. This is according to Caltech scientists and Dr. Lucy Jones. We've had over 100,000 earthquakes since the July 4th and 5th foreshock and aftershock. This is also a volcanic field, we have to remember. It's not just a plain piece of land. There's magma underneath. Ridgecrest has a magma chamber. It also has a geothermal plant, one of the biggest in the country. And north of that, we have the Long Valley Caldera supervolcano, which has also been affected with earthquake swarms after the Ridgecrest earthquake, just like Yellowstone has had earthquake swarms after the Ridgecrest earthquake. Now, Yellowstone doesn't have a geothermal plant, but Long Valley does, the Casa Diablo, and we've had thousands of quakes in the past month there alone. Now, there's an 11% chance of another huge earthquake in Southern California, according to the scientists. This is on phys.org by Karen Kaplan. It has to do with Caltech's and Dr. Lucy Jones, what they're recently stating. The odds that Southern California will have another earthquake of magnitude 7 or greater in the next weeks are nearly 11%. This is according to a preliminary estimate from the geologists. The chances that the quake will surpass the 7.1 magnitude that struck on July 5th near Ridgecrest are roughly 8 to 9%. This is according to Caltech seismologist Dr. Lucy Jones, who said there's about a 1 in 10 chance that we could have another 7 in this sequence. More likely is the Owens Valley will experience another magnitude 6 or greater. The odds of that are slightly greater than 50-50, she said. More quakes of magnitude 5 or greater are a near certainty. Now, the Owens Valley area is on the Walker Lane fault system. Nobody seems to be referring to that. I only, in the past, read, after the Ridgecrest quakes, only read one article referring to the Walker Lane fault system. That was a NASA article on the Ridgecrest earthquakes. The Walker Lane fault system is not one fault, it's a series of faults acting like one. And it's what happened with the Ridgecrest earthquakes. It's like a domino effect. One fault can move and cause others to move with it, like a domino effect, just like what we saw happening in Ridgecrest. Now, it takes about 25% of the subduction pressure. The other 75% is taken by San Andreas, which is parallel to the Walker Lane. San Andreas, of course, is the biggest fault line in California, and it's to the west of Walker Lane. They're parallel to each other, and they're basically joined by the Garlic Fault, which is perpendicular to San Andreas. Together they form a type of a U-shape. Now, the Garlic Fault is zipped in with the San Andreas. It seems to be weakest at the Ridgecrest area. This is not the first time we've had a big quake of that 7.1 magnitude. We had a 7.1 magnitude exactly 20 years before, in 1999. And again, that's when we saw Long Valley Caldera having a quake swarm. At that time, after that quake, and also Yellowstone started having quake swarms after the 7.1 20 years ago at Ridgecrest. Now, she said it would be extremely unusual if we didn't have another 5 magnitude, and 7.1 quake that struck on July 5th was about 8 times larger than the foreshock of 6.4 that struck the morning before. This is according to Robert Graves, seismologist at the U.S. Geological Survey in Pasadena. Even though these types of quakes would be more likely to occur, the shaking could continue for quite some time. A magnitude 7 usually has aftershocks for years, that last for years. This is what Dr. Jones says. She could not recall a pattern of earthquakes in California where a 6.4 foreshock was followed by a 7.1 event, only to be followed by an even bigger quake, but she said it doesn't mean it can't happen, and she explained that it's clearly a very energetic sequence, so there's no reason to think we cannot have more large earthquakes. As we said before, the last time California had a quake of that size was 20 years before, in 1999, when the 1999 hectomine quake struck the Mojave Desert. The years since have been marked by an unusual earthquake drought. In California, we expect to have magnitude 7 once every 10 to 20 years. And the last one was 20 years ago, Dr. Jones said. She says, think of this as a return to what California is supposed to be doing. She also said that the activity near Ridgecrest is not likely to trigger any activity on the San Andreas Fault. She was wrong about that. It has. It has triggered San Andreas. The 7.1 quake occurred on the same fault system as the 6.4 trembler and is considered a foreshock. The 6.4 is considered the foreshock of the 7.1. It was farther away from Los Angeles, though still in the Owens Valley. It happened at the end of the zone that moved previously, Jones said. And since then, we've had 100,000 some odd earthquakes and still ongoing. She said that the fault is now likely to be 25 to 30 miles long and that it's growing. She expects that the Ridgecrest is having a pretty difficult time. She says we don't get sevens very often. And this is still, of course, an ongoing matter. It has not stopped. And let's remember it's in a volcanic field where the crust of the earth is very thinned out and the magma chamber is basically at the crust. Let's take a look at some of the earthquakes that took place there today. Here we are at Seismo Berkeley. I like this because it's very easy to just sail through this site. This is Hawaii. This is the west coast, as we can see. And I just want to remark that this is the most seismic active area in the world, the west coast and Alaska. And the next, of course, is Puerto Rico, Haiti. And let's remember that this is an area of a magma corridor, magma plume, which starts here, and it has two arms, one towards the west coast, high threat volcano area, and the other towards Yellowstone along this fault line. This is New Madrid over here. As we can see, we have San Andreas moving, and we have the Walker Lane fault system on this side here. This is the Garlic Fault right there. And this here is, of course, Wyoming. This is Yellowstone area. We've had a lot of activity around Seattle and Vancouver as well these past few days. But let's go here. What's this one? This is, of course, the Mendocino. Okay. All right. This is the area that we're looking at. Ridgecrest, as you can see, is still hopping. Thousands of quakes, tens of thousands of quakes every month, I would say. And look at this. The red is the past hour. And this is a magma chamber under there. Red is the past hour. Okay, you can see it's very active. Okay, they're small. But this is one of the signs of impending volcanic eruption, usually. We have also another sign being deformation, another sign being gas emissions, and we all know we have magma chamber that's very hot, and they're using it for geothermal activity. Okay, this thing here has no quakes because that's where the magma chamber is right under there. But okay, the depths are very shallow, even though there are those that say that it could be that this is not shallow, this is 11 kilometers down, which is pretty deep concerning this area of California because the crust is so thin. It's basically paper thin, making the magma just really being under the crust. Okay, this is the Walker Lane fault system here. And basically across from Fresno we have Long Valley Caldera supervolcano, and this is the area right here. Mammoth Lakes, Tom's Place. Okay, this is all Long Valley Caldera supervolcano. That's Mono Lake. The Inyo craters right here. This is all Long Valley Caldera. And we see quake swarms and San Andreas activity as well. It has become more active since Ridge Crest. And this is the U-shape that I was talking about. San Andreas, the Garlic Fault, and the Walker Lane fault system. This thing here. The Walker Lane presses onto the Cascadia Arc, and it moves northwest, and it presses on to the Cascadia Arc. This takes up 25% of the pressure of the subduction, and San Andreas takes up the other 75%. And this is Los Angeles. We have a tremendous amount of earthquake activity here as well, which all this picked up, of course, after Ridge Crest. All this picked up in Nevada as well after Ridge Crest. Everything here is sort of loose now, and as some people say, they call it a broken windshield. And things are happening here. I'll leave links below for you for this, and as we said before, they expect seismicity to be going on for years because this was a very big earthquake. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.